killing of Soleimani bears the influence of Bolton, because I do notice that not only has Bolton specifically called for this over the years, and Soleimani has been there for decades, but he's wanted war with Iran, which was almost sure to follow. I can easily suspect that he let the president know that what he said to the Senate would depend on whether the president does what he wants. We'll see. I haven't seen anybody else mention that possibility. For example, he's actually proposed that he's ready to testify to the Senate, which is somewhat contradictory to the hypothesis I just made. If the president has just done what he wanted, why would he want to hurt the president? Well, he hasn't said he wanted to hurt the president. I would think that what he has to say to the president, to the Senate, if they call him, might be a lie, might exonerate the president, if the president stays in line on Iran. And that this Iran deal strongly represents the blackmail influence by the one person I've heard of who actually wants war with Iran. We'll see. And that'll depend on some investigative journalism. There should be hearings on this by the House. It's not talk of the Senate this year. There should be hearings on how this decision came about, who influenced it. I haven't mentioned the the rationale given for that event, that there was an imminent attack, the president has said, to blow up embassies. And more generally, before that, they were saying to kill Americans imminently. I suspect strongly, I believe strongly, those on investigation of journalists, I hope, will prove to be as false as the assertion that there was an attack on our destroyers in the Tonkin Gulf on August 4th, 1964, my first day in the Pentagon. This is where I came in. On the first day in the Pentagon, in the evening, I heard the president say there was unequivocal evidence of an attack on our destroyers in the Tonkin Gulf. My first day, I already knew that was a lie. I wasn't clear that there had been no attack, but to say it was unequivocal or unprovoked was a clear lie, because we had been provoking such an attack that night and other days, as I already knew. Within days, I knew that there had been no attack. The Secretary of Defense, McNamara, my boss, and the Secretary of State, Rusk, like Pence, and in this case, I don't think, and Esper, yes, Secretary of Defense, gave Congress a briefing the other day, which caused Republican Mike Lee to say, that has determined me to vote for restraints on this president. He didn't believe what they were saying. I believe it's an exact parallel to the Tonkin Gulf in 1964, which got us into a war that killed millions of people and 58,000 Americans on that, which started that day with the first air attacks on North Vietnam. We have a presidential act of war presented to the Congress and the public on the basis of lies, which in that case got a resolution which he treated as a declaration of war, even though Congress didn't see it that way. But he used it as if it were a declaration of war, and it had been extorted by lies. I did not reveal those lies at the time, though I could have. That was a violation of my oath of office to support and defend the Constitution. It's clear to me now that the Constitution needed to be defended from domestic enemies such as, at that time, Lyndon Johnson, or a violator. I don't think Lyndon Johnson did mean to overthrow the Constitution in the way that Dick Cheney and Dick Addington, his lawyer, and Donald Trump want to do, I believe. But he was violating it. And so I was violating my oath to support and defend the Constitution. And so were all of my colleagues, essentially. And so was everybody in the Bush administration involved in lying us into that aggression. and so is everybody in this administration who does not resist, expose our path to war, in this instance and future ones. They should learn better and do better.